Welcome to the 5th episode of Marked Out Radio. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And we're really excited to jump right in. We had a whole topic planned out for today, and there is a kind of an interesting breaking news story that's timely because it's related to the last episode we did before speaking to Andrew, which is that this weekend, which by the time you listen to this, it will have already occurred. But there was just a last-minute cancellation. Anthony Starr, who plays Homelander on The Boys on Amazon Prime, just canceled his appearance at the last minute, only a couple days before his appearance at Monster Mania in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. How does that one feel for you, Dana?
Well, on a personal level, since we are attending that show and he was on both of our lists, it's disappointing, as we touched on the last time when we discussed this. It's a disappointment always.
Yeah, what's funny is I got the email earlier that my photo op was refunded, and as soon as you see that, you just go, oh man. And so I jumped on Facebook to see the pretty standard kind of shadowy, mysterious cancellation. They never really give any reason for any cancellation for these guys. What is interesting though is there's a lot of speculation as to why he canceled, and I want to get your take on this. So you have your people. It's so interesting when you look at the fan pages for these cons. You can kind of categorize the different kinds of fans. So you have the fans who are just outraged and demand their money back, and despite the fact they will not be getting their money back, and so you kind of just roll your eyes at them. And then you have your fans who will go to the mat defending the con promoter no matter what, and immediately, oh, don't worry, this is not your fault, we're not mad. And then yes, you have those people, and then you have other folks who right away trying to angle their favorite guests in as a replacement, or trying to get them booked on a different show. But I thought it was interesting. There's a lot of speculation as to why he canceled, and it's funny because the speculation surrounding his cancellation was not one of the reasons that we talked about purely by coincidence on that episode. Which is that we both saw the announcement a couple of days ago that there is a creation convention for The Boys happening. That Creation is starting The Boys Con, and we talked a little bit about Creation Entertainment and how those shows work. But one of the things, I can't remember if we mentioned this explicitly, but one of the things that Creation Entertainment does is that it signs its actors, not all of them, but many of its actors, to exclusive convention arrangements, where the people who attend creation shows, will only attend creation shows. And there's a strong likelihood, again, we don't have access to the contract, so we won't know for sure, but there's a strong likelihood that's what's happening with Star.
Yeah, I know when I first was made aware of the Creation Boys convention, I kind of thought to myself that it was a bit surprising that you have the headliner at the Creation show appearing, I guess, what is it, like 80, 90 miles down the turnpike in Cherry Hill? Only about, 2 months before, maybe a little less than that even. It's close.
Yeah, it's October, the end of October, so about 2 months, yeah.
It's about 2 months, yeah. It seemed just uncreation-like. Usually there, like you don't see Jared Padalecki or Jensen Ackles appearing at local shows ever, let alone months out from a creation show. That's just not usually something they allow to happen with their headline guests.
Yeah, I mean, so time will tell whether Creation threw a wrench into their competitors' works. It wouldn't be the first time that they pulled it. My feelings are that I understand the market for creation shows. Creation shows are not really for me. They're not marketed towards me. I'm clearly not. I'm not their demographic. But it's frustrating that for fans who want to meet characters from the Boys, especially the headliners, there's a pretty good chance that the costs for doing so will be significantly increased over a show like Monster Mania.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be getting. I would imagine at Monster Mania he was going to be $80 per autograph. The photo op with fees was, a little over $100, I imagine. At Creation, I'm sure it's going to be. It's going to definitely be increased from there.
Yeah, I mean, creation prices. It's hard to compare apples to apples because creation makes them do all kinds of other extensive Q&As and performances and all these other things that would literally be torture for me to sit through. Um, but so it's hard to kind of gauge what their costs are, especially since for a lot of the headliners at creation. Not that we want to make this a whole creation episode, but for a lot of the headliners with creation, you can't even buy their autograph directly. You can only buy it as part of a package. Have you ever done an autograph via a package at creation, or you stuck with photo ops or creation?
Just photo ops, and even that was just a bad experience. Sitting in that packed room, felt like you're at like a Weight Watchers convention. You're sitting in there. They're all watching, and these panels, these long-winded things. It just, like you said, it was torturous.
And so, yeah, I mean, I know I actually did that. That was how I met Leonard Nimoy 100 years ago. Was at a convention, Creation Con. I had to sit through this whole ordeal just to get a quick photo op with Leonard Nimoy. But I remember it being impossible to get an autograph if I had even wanted one. There was a whole process, and I didn't have the right kind of ticket. It was a whole thing. So time will tell. They really haven't released the structure for how the Boys Con is going to look. It's going to be in October. I think we'll see whether Anthony Starr got pulled off the market. If I was a betting man, which quite frankly I'm willing, I suspect that we're going to see him get pulled from all future appearances other than creation, which is a shame. And it's a shame for Monster Mania fans, and it's a shame for the con because honestly, he was there, in my opinion, co-headliner for this con. I know this con had a couple of big names, but he's a very big draw, and this was a co-headliner for this con. And for a co-headliner to get pulled a couple days before because of contract shenanigans is unfortunate for everyone involved.
Yeah, definitely a co-headliner, if for no other reason than the fact that Robert Englund is almost like a hologram. I mean, if you walk in there with a GA ticket, unless you just want a photo op, like you're not getting near him with the VIPs and all that. So like this was like the most obtainable headliner, I think, of any that they have.
Yeah, it's a bummer. So all right, on that note, let's introduce ourselves a little bit. So Marked Out Radio is presented by Marked Out Collectibles. If you're shopping for autographs, you can check out all our inventory on markedoutcollectibles.com. If you're more comfortable with eBay, you can check out our eBay store at marked-out-collectibles, or you can check out our sister eBay store at ny-collectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com. And we really would like to start getting some reviews for this podcast. So if you could please subscribe on your podcast software of choice, whether you're subscribing on Apple Podcast or Spotify or YouTube Podcast or Amazon Podcast, or we're pretty much available everywhere. So please subscribe wherever you are, and please give us a rating. Obviously, we're asking for 5 stars, but whatever you can spare, we'll be grateful.
Yes.
All right.
Please.
So let's talk about what happened this past week. We did have some signings that were not announced to the public. So as you go first, because your solo shot was first. You met up with and did a signing with Zilla Fatu.
Absolutely, Zilla Fatu. First of all, I'd like to just give a shout out and a thank you to Louis Ilias and the House of Glory promotion for their hospitality. And we've discussed like the gambling aspect of dealing with like future unsigned talent. I personally feel like this is more insider trading than gambling with Zilla Fatu. His lineage, who he is, the way he carries himself in the ring, I think this guy is a future star. Honestly, I wish I had more product than I have right now. Like, I think it's just complete money. I actually just sold a print before we went live. I got to pack that up when I get off here. They are on our Facebook group right now, and I will be putting them on our eBay store probably by the end. By the time this podcast is up, they will be there. Will they be sold out by then? I don't know. I certainly hope so.
On the website too, or just on eBay?
The website, we have to do a big update on that. We will try to get it on the website, but definitely on the eBay store, marked-out-collectibles.
All right, cool. We also, in addition to that Zilla Fatu on Sunday it was.
Yes.
We met up with and had a great experience with Bret the Hitman Hart. If you even have a passing knowledge of professional wrestling from the 90s or the 2000s or even the 80s, you know the Hitman. The Hitman's a legend in the U.S., in Canada, in Europe. He's always a great guy to work with. This time was no different. We have a bunch of cool prints. The prints are up on Facebook, right?
Prints are on Facebook. Prints are on our eBay store, the main one, Mark-Out-Collectibles. We have figures, ultimates. We have defining moments. And if you guys know the Hitman, and you know most people's in like stock with the Hitman, there's not, his autograph is one of the nicest around, but he's not.
It's so consistent. It's so consistent.
Yeah.
It's the same. He's great like that.
He's a machine, but there's not a ton out there with inscriptions. Let's just say we got some inscriptions, some Hall of Fame inscriptions. So our metallic 11x14s, the figures, these have Hall of Fame inscriptions both years. We even gave Brett an option at one point. We were with Brian Sokol, and he said to Brett how, you could just do one Hall of Fame year on some of them. And Brett, in all his seriousness, said they're both important. And he insisted on writing them both because he's right. They're both important. He's a two-time Hall of Famer. So all our stuff that we have up there is inscribed. It's really sick. So check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun to meet Brett. You never know when he's going to be. He's very serious, but he can also be kind of sarcastic and dry, and it's always a good time. And he really he gave us some great autographs. We have a lot of great items. A lot of our stuff is personal collection kind of stuff, but there's plenty of. I know we have those prints that are available on eBay. They are these really cool metallic prints that Dana designed. They're sick, and there's only 5 of them in existence. So once we sell those 5, there will be no more. Well, how big are those? 11x14?
11x14, correct.
They're 11x14 horizontal metallic prints. They're stunning. Really, if you're a Brett fan, they're a no-brainer. You'd be a fool not to get them because again, they once they're gone, they're gone. We only have 5.
Yeah, it's like a freshening up of like that iconic like Brett on like the Rocky, like that Canadian like Riverside with the mountains behind him. I switched it up a little bit. It's colorful. It's futuristic looking. It's really great.
And of course, lots of figures and stuff. So if you're a Brett fan, check out our stock. We have plenty of it, but the Brett stuff never lasts that long. Brett is always in demand, and our prices are very, very competitive. So I don't expect it to last. So with that said, and lots of all that plugging finished, let's get to what we finally planned to get to, which was we had a whole topic for this episode, and then I was doom scrolling on TikTok the other day, and I came across, for some reason I'm not on convention talk. Convention TikToks typically don't come across my For You page, but it just so happens that one did, and it related to a topic that I think is a really important topic for our hobby. And so I will play the TikTok, and that'll kind of segue us into discussing it.
My name's Kyle. I got here a little before 11 and got inside. The line was not moving off for like 3 hours because people were asking for too much. They wanted voiceovers. They wanted the whole shebang. Nothing was moving. We got to the end of the line. Right now, it's 4:22. He left. So there's about 20, 25 people left standing here waiting for an autograph, and he left.
And you got here at 11.
Got here before. I was outside the building at like 10, after 10. I was here all day only for him.
You didn't get to do anything else?
Didn't get to do anything else. I was for him.
Here, 11:05 a.m. According to the pictures I took, I bought
He got the receipts.
about 2 Funkos for him to sign.
Okay.
I originally was gonna just get a video of him until like 3 hours in. They told us that like he's not taking pictures anymore or doing any videos. He's just signing.
Yeah.
So I bought these Funkos for him to sign. Back.
So you didn't even want the Funkos?
I didn't. No, I just wanted a video.
You just wanted a video,
I wanted a video
but
or a
then
picture with them. That's it.
Wow. So you just bought this for no reason, basically?
Yeah, literally.
And they started making calls, and they said they would handle it.
Yeah, so that TikTok came across my feed, and I thought it was kind of interesting because it touches on several topics related to the hobby, and right away the wheels started turning. These are things we can talk about. These are things that I think Dana and I have both experienced in our time at conventions, and And it's funny because even in our last episode, Andrew touched on this stuff too, right? When he said that he likes the idea that meeting someone is a meet and greet, and that there should be an opportunity to get to have an experience that you want. So in this case, just to, if you couldn't tell what's going on, there were fans. They were lined up to meet Sean Schemmel. I think that's how you say his name. He's a voice actor. He voices. Oh God, I hope I get this right because I'm not an anime person. He voices the American in the English language version of Goku for Dragon Ball Z, or I don't know if he still does, but he had done that, and he's a pretty popular convention guest. He's on a lot of shows, and that the young man who was on the video wanted to meet Sean Schemmel. He got to the con for 10 a.m., which is when the con opened. It was after 4 p.m. He was still in line, so he'd been in line for more than 6 hours, and Sean Schemmel left for the day, and so he was unable to meet him at all. So that's wild. So let's we can break this down into a bunch of subtopics, because we hear a lot of things that the guy in the video was talking about, and I think these all topics are kind of on their own meaningful and substantive when you go to a con. But I guess let's talk about what a fan expects, or what a fan ought to expect or feel entitled to at a meet and greet or a convention appearance or other kinds of appearances. Because a lot of times, for us, we're seasoned vets at these kinds of events. We know how to navigate the situation, and we get a good read on what's available and what's not available, what should be expected, what should not be expected. There are new people entering this hobby all the time who have no idea what to expect. So I guess let's start from that perspective. When you're at a con, what should you expect, or what should you feel entitled to during a meet and greet?
Well, I think I'm probably on the polar, I'm on the extreme in the not expecting a hell of a lot side. It's rare for me to go into a meet and greet and expect or even care to have like any sort of deep, meaningful conversation. Like there's been a few times in my life where I've had like multiple minute-long conversations with guests. Not many. And honestly, if I name the names that happened with, they wouldn't even be these like names that were like impactful in my life. It just so happened randomly. For me personally, when I go to a table, I expect a clear autograph where I want it, that doesn't get smudged, that there's no damage done to my item. I want my photo op to be taken well, and I say my goodbyes, I gather my item, and I move on. That's what my picture of a perfect meet and greet is.
And that's at a con.
Yeah.
So, obviously there's lots of different places where people can meet celebrities or celebrity adjacent folks, and what people consider a celebrity, I think is a subjective thing. But so if we go to a con where someone's they're advertised to sign autographs, what Dana is describing is pretty much the standard. I think you wait online, you go up, you get an autograph on an item of your choosing or something from their table. They will sign it how you want it, where you want it. If they're offering table photos, you can take a photo and choose to do that, or usually pay for it, and then you go on your merry way. However, as we have experienced, I think many times, that is not necessarily the mainstream view of what a con meet and greet ought to look like. And there are a lot of first timers to cons who are pretty disappointed when that's their experience, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, what we wait online for, as we've discussed in previous weeks, we sort of, habitually, frantically collect and get all these things signed. I think for a lot of people, which when I say it back, actually maybe is more normal than our perspective, they wait online for the experience of meeting the person, and the autograph or the photo is like the product of that. It's a little trinket that's thrown in. They pay for the experience.
It's almost secondary. It's almost secondary to the experience.
Yeah, for us, we're just this is like it's like a glory hole type experience as far as anonymity. Like there's no like tenderness or anything in us. You know, eye contact isn't necessary. We're just get our stuff signed and get out the door.
Yeah, you know, I'm not gonna lie. Of all of the analogies that you could have gone with, that was not the one that I expected, despite it kind of being apt when you think about it.
I was weighing if it was going to demonetize us, and I figured let's just, you know, we had a good 4-episode run. If they cancel us on the 5th one, whatever.
Oh my god. Oh, let me take a second to recuperate. Yeah. No, but fundamentally, you're right. And in fact, when you have the grizzled convets like us, when we're behind someone in line who wants to have an extended conversation or who wants to like FaceTime so that their kids can see this person, or who wants to, you know, do other things that are just to me, they're infuriating experiences to be behind someone. No, I mean, I'm being honest, you know, because usually when I'm going to a con, I don't have one name that I need 7, 8, 9, 10, depending on the con. I don't want to spend time in line behind you while you're carrying on having a conversation with a person that I don't care about, that is this bizarre, in my view anyway, this sort of bizarre parasocial expression. It is this you know, this conversation that the person's going to forget in 5 seconds. I can't really put myself in the shoes of someone for whom that's appealing, but I'm also not going to judge it. I mean, look, you put people, because I know that when my collecting of stuff is also can be perceived as strange. So, but I will say that from my perspective, waiting in line behind these people is infuriating, because they will just do everything in their power to extend the length of the encounter, and they're extending the length of the encounter at the expense of the people behind them. But this guy, it's interesting because what he's complaining about is really not that. He's complaining about other things that are happening at the table that it's more so in the comments of the TikTok as well. He says he's been waiting in line for 6 hours, and the guy behind him wanted a video. So some of these voice actors, and it will do like, have you ever paid for someone to do a video?
That's always it's tempting. I'll see like it offered. I like the first time, like when I met Tom Kenny as a fan, I was online for him for many hours, and I got up there, and like I started thinking like, oh, a video for my wife, who was my fiance at the time, that would be cool. A voice recording for like your voicemail, which I mean, I don't want to encourage people to leave me voicemail, so that wouldn't really be cool. But I mean, it kind of would be. But to me, there's so much background noise in a convention. Like you'd end up getting some real crappy quality recording. It to me, it just kills any temptation.
So I've gotten 2 videos. Well, one of them technically was an audio recording. So I did have Billy West record a voicemail message, outgoing voicemail message for me. I still, even though this happened in 2021, so now 3 full years ago, I still haven't made that my voicemail outgoing message for no good reason. I just haven't done it. And I also got at New York Comic Con last year, I couldn't resist it. The gentleman, Gary Anthony Williams is his name. He's the gentleman who plays Uncle Ruckus on the Boondocks. And he was doing videos, and he was berating people in the voice of Uncle Ruckus, which to me is just the funniest thing. So I got berated by him in the voice of Uncle Ruckus. Beyond that, I've only paid for those 2, but I do know that when it comes to these anime guys and gals, these voice actors, it's a pretty standard thing for them to do voice recordings in their in their character name, in their character voice, I should say. That's how they can generate a lot of dough. So these poor guys on the video, this was a service that was being offered, and then I guess at some point they pulled it because the line was too long.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me wonder. You may have more clarity on this with voice recordings. Like, is it like photo ops where people ask for like a redo? Like, oh, I didn't like that. Can you say my name differently? Can you pronounce it more like this? Like, if that would take a lot of time. The truth of it is,
and I think what it boils down to, I guess the theme that we're talking about here is entitlement. Yeah, and whether it's autographs, whether it's and the way the autograph was presented, whether it's photo ops and the way the photo op is taken, whether it's voice messages or videos and the way the video is constructed, there will always be people who feel entitled to more and better. And I guess, look, I understand the logic of it because for this guy, I imagine a video or a voice recording was in the ballpark of $75 to $100. I can't see it being less than that. And so I paid, I think, $60 for Billy West. That was 3 years ago. I bet you, because he's gonna be at New York Comic Con in October. I bet you Billy West is $100 to do a voiceover now. And then Gary Anthony Williams was $75. And this guy Sean Schemmel is way bigger on the con circuit than those guys are, and so I'm sure he's $100. If I'm a betting man, he's $100. In any case, if I'm paying $100 for something, if I'm paying $100 for an autograph, or $100 for a photo op, or $100 for whatever, I want it to be good. I don't want it to pay $100 and then walk away and it not be good. I shouldn't say good, not be to my desire. It's not $10. It's $100.
Yeah.
And so that's where you get a little bit of an issue. The problem is you're trying to accommodate 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes potentially or more, and you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fans waiting in line. So there are other aspects of the con game that there's debates about, and whether or not the cons are always trying to get the lines moving faster. The con's job, in their eyes, is to get as many fans to see the person as possible. The more fans that see the person, the more money they make. So, for example, one of the most common ways that cons move the line faster, and this has actually caused a lot of controversy. I think there's some room for debate here, but one of the ways that the cons have moved the lines faster is to not allow table photos at all, and to only have the guests do professional photo ops at a separate time and only sign autographs at the table. What do you think about that?
I see the logic. I see the logic to some degree, that if you have every single person getting a photo in that moment and you just want an autograph, or the line is there for autographs, it would take longer. It's a separate component that then you have to satisfy. The same way the voice recordings likely made the person in question from the TikTok line just unmanageable. But I mean, then they go take the professional photo. That takes a lot of time away from the table. It's like 6 of one, half dozen of another, honestly.
It's funny. I think that the original reason for the pro photo ops was to move them along more quickly. And the professional photo ops I saw, and these numbers are not exaggerated. When I went to see Leonard Nimoy back, and this was at the Creation Con, at the Star Trek Con years ago, there were about 800 fans wanting to take pictures with Leonard Nimoy, and they pushed 800 fans through their photo ops with Leonard Nimoy in about 40 minutes. Think about how fast those photo ops were. If 800 fans got through, 800 fans got through in 40 minutes. Keep in mind that the average autograph table interaction with a fan is 1 to 2 minutes. And photo ops can move a heck of a lot faster. So I do understand, but from a fan perspective, sometimes you're up there, you're already with the guest, you got the autograph. What's an extra 10 seconds to snap the photo? And then you're not even dealing with the autograph line. With the photo op line.
Of course. And then when you really start getting into the photo op room, because like the photo op room is an entirely different can of worms, and there's always the people that don't expect, the newcomers that like expect a real meet and greet experience. And I think I speak for both of us. I think you'll agree with me that there's some people we've met, and if since there's no video, you can't see the air quotations on met, that in a pro photo setting, like, did we really meet them? There was zero interaction, zero acknowledgement, zero anything. I got
a pro photo op with Shatner a couple of years ago. I'm 50-50 on whether he even knew I was there.
Yeah.
I'm not exaggerating.
I met Tim Curry last year, and I'm not sure in the pro photo if he knew I was there. I mean, who knows if he would have known if I was there anywhere. But, I mean, he definitely didn't there. It was completely impersonal, which is fine by me, but like it's not really like a meet. You don't have a memory of interacting with them.
And so for these people, just to be clear, the way the con is structured, if you want a meet and greet, you have to do a meet and greet at the autograph table. The odds of you doing a meet and greet at the photo op are basically zero.
Yeah, unless somehow the camera malfunctions. Which
actually happened to me once. Yeah, it happened to me once. I did so this upcoming weekend, we're going to Monster Mania. Robert Englund's going to be there. For those people who have never experienced a Robert Englund meet and greet, Robert really takes his time at the autograph table, but that means that really very few fans get a chance to meet Robert Englund relative to the overall number who want to meet Robert Englund. So you have these lines that stretch forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and there are always people who are disappointed because they never get all the way through. And so actually, I've already met and had meet and greets and autograph stuff from Robert Englund in the past. So I'm just doing the photo op this time because they have Nancy Heather Langenkamp with him. So I'm going to do that, and I have no illusions that this is going to be more than a 7 to 9 second encounter, and I'm totally okay with that as long as I get the Freddy face and Robert's good like that. He gives you the Freddy face and whatnot. But it's just a funny thing because again, I've been doing this now for the better part of 2 decades. And the people who, for their very first go around, or they bring their kids and they want their kids to have this whole, like, why, I don't know why a 5-year-old has to have a meaningful interaction with Freddy Krueger, who doesn't like know who Freddy Krueger is. But there's always that contingent of people who want their kids to have these meaningful experiences with these totally age inappropriate, people. And I'm not going to even pretend to understand the psychology behind that. But then they complain when they don't have that. And so, that's not the only. Just to be clear, the photo op versus autograph table. I don't know. I mean, I typically, on one hand, I really don't like the pro photo op concept, and there's a few reasons why I don't like it. I don't like it because you have to pay additional fees because the photographer needs to get paid. Right. So there's an additional layer of bureaucracy with the pro photo op. You're also constrained to a set period of time. So for a major show like a New York Comic Con, if you have a photo op at 1:30 in the afternoon, it kind of limits what you can do in the 30 minutes before and the 30 minutes after. So a big chunk of your day is dictated by this thing that you have no control over. And then God forbid they don't get there on time or whatever. And it gives you a more of a weight. But I had I think bigger picture than that. The pro photo op kind of looks different from the table photo. The table photo often, and maybe I'm not going to use the right word, so you'll help me. The table photo looks more authentic. It's a more authentic representation of the experience because you're usually smiling bigger, and there's more of you're in the middle of talking or interacting, whereas in the pro photo op it kind of looks like this staged thing, and you have often now that all these cons, they have banners behind you, so there's advertisements for the con all over the place. It'll say the con's name behind you or whatever, and it looks more artificial. What do you have the same hang-ups, or do you not care?
I mean, if I really cared, I wouldn't get them, and I get I probably have 500 of them, so I clearly don't care that much. But I agree with you. It feels the table photo feels a little more casual. I kind of it's the pro photo with the goofy backdrop. It almost looks like imagine you and your wife are on a beach somewhere on vacation. You snap a photo, whatever, or you go to some a photographer's studio with a backdrop. You ever see those creepy couple photos where they're sitting on blocks or whatever, this weird.
It reminds me of the JCPenney Christmas photos.
Yeah, like that. It just feels. I don't want to really say awkward, but maybe I do want to say awkward. It just feels a little more awkward, a little less casual, forced. I like a lot of the words you use, a lot of the adjectives.
And so I understand why they do it. I don't like it. and the trend has really taken off in the past decade. It used to be very rarely would guests require pro photo ops used to be optional, and now basically your headline guests for the shows without fail require pro photos now. They don't really do table photos anymore.
Like there's names at like New York Comic Con. Like in the past, you would actually wait until the show and you'd see what it said on the table, like at the sign. Like, are they doing table photos? Are they not? Like there's like the headline big names at like a show like New York Comic Con. Like I already pre-ordered my pro ops. I know Brolin is not going to do table ops. Like you just know that's a fact. So you just have to buy the pro op. There's no other option.
True story. But back in would have been 08 or 09, I got a table op with Robert Englund.
Damn.
You know how much it cost?
Free.
It was free. That's right.
Free.
I paid $35 for an autograph, and that included a free table photo. And that's not that long ago. You're talking about probably 15 years ago. And to see a Robert Englund now, I think he's $120 for an item at the table. And then the photo op was another $120. I think ballpark is
minus all the fees. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're looking at, $250 for Robert Englund for an autograph and a photo, whereas 15 years ago I paid $35. So you're talking about a factor of, do some math here. It's a factor of almost 8, about a factor of 8 difference. So this is not just a function of it's normal prices go up and normal inflation. The normal inflation is not a factor of 8 from 15 years ago.
Oh yeah, nothing else has.
No, this is a trend, like right? This is a trend in how this business operates. And there are other factors too with creating these long lines. We talked about the photo ops. We talked about the voice and video recordings. We haven't talked about the this is more of us. How people. By the way, we have me more than Dana, but we've made enemies of people in lines for the way we get our autographs done.
I've probably made a couple enemies. I'm sure I've made some enemies. Like right when COVID broke and I was doing some public signings again. This was like before I did like privates. I can remember going to Wrestling Universe once, and I must have had 35 things for Lex Luger, and I was like smack dab in the middle of the line. So I'm sure there was some people out there that wanted to kill me, as I have all my stack of 11x17s and magazines and everything.
So, yeah, anytime you go to a show, there are people there who are collectors. This is just how it goes. There are people who are there for the experience and the meet and greet, and there are people who are there who are collectors. And unfortunately, I really wish people could be sort of more empathetic generally and just recognize that people have different motivations than they do and have different goals and desires than they do, but people aren't like that. People believe that other people are exactly like them. It's really one of the fundamental flaws of our humanity, I guess. So, like for me, here I am getting pissed off when the guy in front of me is telling his life story or blabbing and or doing a voice recording or on FaceTime with his niece for 20 minutes. That annoys me. But what I do that annoys other people might be because when I get my autographs, it's not enough for someone to scribble in a black Sharpie on the item wherever they want. My autographs have to be in exactly the pen that I want, exactly placed where I want. Depending on what the circumstances are, whether it's a movie or TV show, or it depends on the circumstance. But I like to have the person write either some kind of quote or. It's funny thing is this is something that historically in the past people just used to do. I remember years ago when Monster Mania had the full cast of the remaining living cast of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was honestly most of the full cast. And I had them all sign my poster, and I didn't specify, and they all just without even asking wrote their favorite quotes from the movie, and that stuck with me. And so now when I get stuff signed, I like to have someone write their favorite quote or some kind of quote from the movie. So there's a difference between other people and me, though, and so I know some people will go up to the table like, "Can you write your favorite quote?" Which puts pressure on that person. It also that's how you get some wacky spelling and grammar when you ask someone to just do something off the cuff. So what I do, and a lot of people do who are like me, I will label my items very clearly. So when I get up to the table, there's no misunderstanding. If I want them to write a particular quote, the quote is written out and taped to the item so they can't miss it. And usually I want it in a certain color pen, and I said that already. And in a certain spot, and usually with the character name they play underneath it, and I want it to look a particular way. And to be honest, and I know this, I'm not a babe in the woods here. I know that the way I want my autographs signed takes more time than scribbling across an 8x10 in black Sharpie.
For sure, it's a longer experience, a longer time, but you get a much better product out of it.
We also have to factor in drying time for our stuff. If I walk up to a table with 5-6 things and they all are special paint markers, and they all need to dry, and which means I'm taking up time, I'm taking up space. I know that, and so you'll see if you go to a Facebook page or something for any con, every time the complaints are about the people who buy VIP tickets or buy the more expensive line jump tickets, and then they get a ton of items signed, and those people kind of ruin it for the rest of everyone else. So I guess we can talk about those people. Some of them are collectors, some of them aren't. You've gone as a collector and dropped a bunch of items in front of somebody, right?
Oh yeah, honestly, a lot. Like at this stage of the game, when we're doing business, we're not like interfering with people's experience on the line. So whenever you see me dropping a lot of stuff on a table, I don't have a private or anything scheduled. That's just me as a collector. So yeah, I've definitely been guilty of that as a collector.
I mean, I'm trying to think if I've ever done that I absolutely have. People get mad. But it's like, this is what I'm here for. I'm paying. And from my perspective, if I'm paying retail for my autographs, then I am getting them signed exactly how I want. And because the celebrity is being paid the same, that if I'm paying retail price for autographs, obviously if you're paying wholesale price or if you're getting a volume discount, then there's some other considerations in play. But if I'm paying retail for an autograph, I want it to look exactly how I want it to look. And I don't really have a problem with that. But I do know that a lot of the people at the back of the line, because we can speak to it, we buy VIPs often for these shows just for the purpose of jumping the lines.
Yeah.
That's that we've done it a lot. We've done it a bunch of shows, and some of these, if we need certain guests, so we have to guarantee them. It makes no sense not to.
Yeah, last Rhode Island Comic-Con, I would not have gotten Charlie Hunnam, or I would not have gotten other people in addition to Charlie Hunnam if I didn't have the VIP. Like, for certain guests at certain shows, VIP is, make or break.
Yeah, I mean, to meet Robert Englund this weekend, you must have a VIP. That's the only people who get to meet Robert Englund because of how long, how long the lines are. Let me rephrase. The only way to guarantee that you'll meet Robert Englund is to have a VIP. If you go and wait in the regular GA line, there's a good chance you can wait the whole weekend and never get in. That's how much he draws. That's how much interest he draws from people. So that's something that I think is really important to understand. But there are other reasons, and so one of the other things that is really bothersome to certain people, I don't really have too much of a problem with it, but I do make fun of it nonetheless. Is since COVID, there is a prevalence of consignments happening at cons, and I know that at sports cons, consignments were the norm for decades, but this has only really recently started trickling into the pop culture cons and the horror cons and stuff, where people who are running consignment businesses are showing up and getting a ton of items done on consignment. And so again, it's irksome to the people in line who you're in line. I understand that some of this is irrational, right? You're in line and you're 20 or 30 people back, and you see the guy up at the front drop 40 items at the table, which it happens.
Yeah.
And then, those 40 items, just doing the math, those 40 items getting done with quotes and character names, and some of the people, especially this is especially true in the anime world, they'll get multiple pen colors on the same item. So they'll get like keywords in the quote done in a different color, or they'll get the quote done in a different color from the autograph, and that's a different color from the character name. People with the colors, and every time you switch a pen, it takes 20 to 30 seconds to make sure you're not going to smudge and not, everything else. And so when you have consigners who are bringing, sometimes 40, 50 items to a table, that can clog the table up to 30 minutes to an hour or more. And I've seen that happen too.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so what are your thoughts? Because it's a hot topic now. I mean, I've seen it come up on the Monster Mania board. I've seen on the Facebook group. I've seen it come up on the Steel City Con Facebook group. I've seen it come up on the Chiller Theater Facebook group. What are your thoughts about the people who demand that the cons limit the number of items per person at a table?
Well, I know that we're keeping this episode to the fan focus more, because like I've been drowning out and just ignoring all these like carny like voices in my head of what I really want to say from that perspective. But from a fan perspective, I can understand why it's annoying. But I do want
let's be clear. We are going to in a very shortly upcoming future episode talk about all of these things from the perspective of the other side of the table.
Yes.
So right now, this episode is from the fans' perspective. So you think the fans are justified in their calling for item limits?
I think they're justified only because I don't want to really, sling mud here, but a lot of the consigners are not super professional, polished, skilled, organized, any of those things. Steve and Heather Demansky of the Steve D3 Authentics, those two are absolute pros. I always love seeing them and catching up with them at conventions. They're organized. They get this stuff done quick. The majority of consigners are not like them, so it's genuinely a whole thing of, that's just going to bring the line to a screeching halt. And also I think I could say this from a fan perspective, it kind of makes me scratch my head why they aren't, as a consigner, why aren't you going to the talent, the representation directly to do this off con hours? Maybe they'd get a little better rate. Maybe they can make a little more money. It just, to me, it makes too much sense. Even from a fan perspective, I don't get why they're doing all this publicly. But I think the nature of it.
Yeah, I mean, and we will do a full episode on consigners, but I think the consigner logic, and it blew up after COVID. It existed before, but it really blew up after. It went something like this. I can go to this con. I know that you can't. So I'll take a couple extra things done. I'll take a couple extra things for other people. I'll get them done. It's not really a big deal for me, because if I was going to that line anyway, I have 2-3 extra items, no big deal, right? And then and the little money that I make on consigning, because usually people charge a small convenience fee, then that I can use that money to offset my own expenses. So there is a logic there that totally makes sense. The problem is what happened. It's really over the past 2 years. The number of consigners and the demand for consigners blew up so big that you have anyone and their mother are claiming to be a consigner, because it takes no effort or skill, or it really takes no skill. It takes no acumen for anything. You just have to literally stand in line, like one of those line holder people. And the good ones, you mentioned Steve, and there are I've worked with others. I've sent items off to shows where I couldn't be there. There are good ones who you'll get you the autograph in the right pen color and do it the right way. But if the bad consigners, they just disappear and are replaced right away by another eager and willing 20-year-old kid who doesn't want to pay full price for their show. And so that's kind of what's going on with consignments. And you see, like, and New York Comic Con is a big one for this, where you'll see the line is just not moving. Like, what the hell is going on? The line's not moving at all. I'm sitting here for 20 minutes, and you see it's some doofus juggling stuff. It was a really funny one. This was 2021. It was actually the last time the boys did a reunion. It was at New York Comic Con, and Chase Crawford, the guy who plays the Deep, but he was on like was he on Gilmore Girls or one of those kind of shows? Do you know?
Gossip Girl.
Gossip Girl. It was something.
I'm not sure why I know that, but I do.
Some show that's not my demographic, but anyway, he was at that, and this dude. I chuckled because I'm a jerk, but I was on the line for Homelander, so I'm like about to get to Homelander, and there was a guy to my left who was on the line for the Deep for Chase Crawford, and the guy on my left for Chase Crawford was he appeared to be a consigner. Because he had stacks of stuff and he was super disorganized. He was sweating and it was a whole mess. And he presents Chase Crawford with all of these like scantily clad photos. Like, I don't know where he got them from, but these very like clearly like erotic kinds of photos. And Chase Crawford was completely taken aback. He's like, where did you get these? I don't want to sign these. And then the guy's like, oh, well, my customer sent them to me. And then he got into kind of an argument with Chase Crawford's management that, I had a customer who paid me for these. We already paid for them, to make him sign the erotica that he brought. And that's a whole other thing. That's a funny thing about talent refusing to sign stuff. That's a whole other conversation. But it was funny to me because this dude was ostensibly a consigner or claimed to be one. And just gumming up the works with his with his consignments. What else we got? Oh, we talked a little bit about VIP line skipping and ADA line skipping. It's funny because I hate VIP line skipping, but I will take advantage of it.
Oh yeah. And it's funny, you have like the people that get the VIP ticket as like a means to an end to get everything done in a timely fashion. And then you always see the guy or the girl that their chest is puffed out, and you can tell that like this VIP ticket is just like it's adding a couple inches onto them. Like they're moving different. They really feel like cool and important because they're VIPs. And though when you see people with that kind of like swagger to them when they have that VIP line jump, it's always a little annoying.
Yeah, just the whole concept of being able to pay more and jump the line is, part of navigating a con is understanding when to get on and off lines and when to get the right. That's a skill that, not that this is some kind of transferable skill that I should be particularly bragging about or proud about, but it's a skill that we've developed. We've developed a skill over the years, and that skill has kind of been nullified by these VIPs for everything because you're stuck on these lines that never move. And so it definitely sucks. I know that a lot of these shows now, they way oversell the VIPs. So the VIP lines are just as long as the non-VIP lines, almost to the point of ridiculousness.
I got a story about that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Well, I'll set the stage. It was Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund himself at Oaks Monster Mania. And this entire
Oaks, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Oaks, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Yeah.
This entire day was just like one giant like fever dream. I remember the night before the show, you had a family emergency. You weren't able to go. You and I were supposed to go together. It's like a 3-hour drive each way. My wife always worries I'm going to fall asleep at the wheel, which is quite possible. So I guilted her out of not wanting to be a widow to come with me. So I had my wife up at the crack of dawn, probably like 4:30 in the morning, and she's not a morning person. And off we go. I stopped off at Sean's house to get his Freddy glove, and somehow, don't ask me how, I got locked inside his house. I couldn't get out. Getting in was easy. Getting out was hard. It's like a horror movie in and of itself. So I had to call my wife to like come up and like help me open the door from the outside. Again, I have no clue how that even makes sense. Then we were on the road. I saw the most horrific car crash, like right behind me in the rearview mirror. That was crazy. Then we get to Oaks, and basically the entire line was the VIP line. There was a little GA line off to the side, but all the GAs were told by staff that you wait in this line, you're basically wasting your time. If you don't have a VIP, you're not going to meet them. And I had one couple behind me in the line, and like they were, normal, rational people that, VIP stands for very important person, which in this case is kind of silly. But if, VIP connotation is that you have this luxurious, quick experience. And they kept saying, like, I don't get it. If we're VIP, how are we all VIP if we're VIP? Why did I bother getting a VIP ticket? And I explained to them that if you didn't have the VIP ticket, you wouldn't meet Robert. Like, it just wouldn't happen. So finally, legit 4 or 5 hour wait with a VIP ticket. And I had my items. I had Sean's items. I was going to be one of the people that we just complained about. I had probably 12 to 15 items. I had my fanny pack filled with hundreds. I was ready to rock and roll. And they told me at the table, oh, it's a 2-item limit. So 13 items were unsigned. Sean utilized Robert's great mail-in service where he does a great job. I still haven't, so I'm going to hold these things until he dies, and then I'm going to complain that I never got them signed. And that's the reality.
Yeah, it's and I understand why they run that the way they do. They know people. If someone buys a VIP ticket to a con and waits the whole time and still doesn't meet him, you're gonna have chargebacks. Is what you're gonna have.
Yeah.
That's another aspect of this game. So they have to kind of play it cool a little bit and get people through. But I understand. This is why though. I mean, one of the things that cons promote, and the con promoters are really into this, don't go to a con for one guest. Make sure there's a lot of guests who you want to see, or at least more than one thing you want to do, because there's always a possibility you're not going to be able to meet that person. The line will be too long, or something will happen, or they're canceled, or whatever, and that you should you try and diversify your experience. I know, I saw on the Monster Mania Facebook a couple hours ago, there were people complaining they wanted refunds for their tickets because Anthony Starr had canceled, and that's really not an option because the con still has a lot of headliners. It still has William Shatner and Robert Englund and Clive Barker, and so Anthony Starr was a great guest, and frankly, the reason why I was going to this con, but the con has already extended. They spent all this money on advertising, on hotels and other expenses. They can't give refunds to people who are upset that Anthony Starr canceled, especially since the circumstances under which he canceled might be financially disadvantageous to the con. There's a non-zero chance, quite a good chance actually, that Monster Mania will at the end of the day have lost money. Not on the whole, but have lost money on the Anthony Starr transaction. They almost certainly have travel arrangements booked for him and potentially his people that may or may not be fully refundable. They have, they will be faced with chargebacks, even though they're not. The tickets say non-refundable. There will always be people who try, and there are certain banks who will just honor those chargebacks anyway. It's I don't mean to dip into the con promoter perspective here because they do typically control the narrative, but there is they do say cards subject to change for a reason. But unfortunately, but the truth of it is people go to these, and it kind of speaks to the motivation for why people are going to these shows. I think what we should do, because we were going to get into a whole other vein of this conversation, but looking at the time, we're already at an hour. So what I think we should do is, I think you were correct, Dana, that this about how to time these episodes out. That we were gonna do this whole episode was gonna be double. We were gonna take on twice as much information that we ended up talking about, and we chopped it down to this, and it's still an hour. So I think I think we're pretty good on the fan perspective, and I think the other thing we're going to talk about parasocial relationships and how a big part of the fans who are complaining about autographs and photo ops and timing and meet and greet and all these different things are because their itch for the parasocial relationship with the celebrity is not being scratched in the current convention environment. I really think that's its own show. What do you think?
Totally, 100%.
So let's just punt on that. I think there's a lot to talk about there. We have lots of stories about where we see people engaging in these unhealthy relationships and kind of acting all of this out on the floor of these conventions. So I think any last words about meet and greet convention etiquette, how people should expect to navigate cons, or anything we didn't talk about?
Not really. I mean, I would just, I think it would just be better if all of us, you and I included, would just, be a little more understanding that everyone's on that line for a different reason. But I mean, I'm sure come Saturday when I'm in line at Monster Mania, I'll be, cursing under my breath when someone's up there talking about how this scene in this movie changed their life. So, I mean, I'm sure I'll lose all that Yoda-esque tolerance, but it would be nice if we understood each other.
It is true, and this. I think a lot of us are under the convention goer umbrella, and we all, again, we're here for different reasons, and there are different aspects of the hobby that we like. But I agree that we would all get along better with a little bit more tolerance, a lot more bathing at these cons. I'll say it now: a big part of convention etiquette. Please shower. You're in close proximity in hot rooms to other people. If you don't shower the day of, people will know it and they will hate you for it. So that's an important thing. And that, we are all, I shouldn't say all, many of us are guilty for holding up lines for many reasons. And there's a certain irony, I think, in that TikTok video, because the kid he's not a kid, he's like a 30-year-old man. But anyway, the guy who was waiting in line and the guys behind him who were waiting in line, when they got up there, they were complaining about the lines being long and not getting up there. But the truth of it is, they would have also taken time at the table. And there's only so many bodies that can go across that table. And there's a formula, right? If the average amount of time, you take the amount of time the celebrity is contracted for, you divide that by the average amount of time each guest takes, and that will tell you the maximum number of guests that can go across the table, and not a person more, and that's it. And so there has to be a little bit of using that knowledge. That you need to use the resources that are available to you, whether it's, I hate to say it, but jumping in with a friend in line, or making sure you're there very early, or having a VIP, or if you really have to meet the person, buy the pro photo op as a guarantee.
Yeah,
and I think if we do those things and take those things into consideration, we'll be a lot more pleasant to be around each other at the cons. Okay, so with that said, we're going to now talk about what we have coming up. So again, if you're shopping for autographs, please check out markedoutcollectibles.com, our eBay store at marked-out-collectibles, or our sister eBay store at ny-collectibles. To contact us for any reason. You have show ideas, you have feedback about this show, you have a guest you think that you can you would be willing to talk to us, and maybe you have opinions about the con scene that you or autograph scene that you would like to give and you want to be on the show, shoot us an email at markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com. Please subscribe on Apple Podcast or Spotify or YouTube Podcast or Amazon Podcast or the platform of your choice. But when you subscribe, that helps the algorithm send our stuff out. And please leave us a review. 5-star reviews would be nice, but we'll take anything honest. We do have a couple of signings coming up. So by the time you hear this podcast, by the time that we're released, this podcast releases on, we're into August by the time this releases. This releases on this was August 5th. This podcast releases. So by the time this podcast releases, our signing with Melissa Barrera will have been over. We will have, correct me if I'm wrong, Dana, we will have some stock of hers available as soon as the signing is over.
We should have a handful of the new Ghostface Funko signed, and I may have one mask because this stuff is flying, but I may have one ghost face mask.
So
left
obviously, if you haven't pre-ordered, check to see what we have available. Check on it on the Facebook group, or on Instagram, or check the eBay store, see what we got. Also, there's still time even after this airs to pre-order for the Joe Hendry signing, which is all orders are due August 11th. I am shocked. I know you are not shocked. I am shocked at the demand for Joe Hendry. When this opportunity was presented to us, I said, Dana, this is you. I don't think this is a moneymaker. I don't think this is something that is going to draw. I am definitely totally wrong.
You didn't believe in Joe Hendry.
I didn't, and I see the repercussions from that. The orders are coming in at a faster rate than we can probably accommodate. We will accommodate them all, but make sure you get those orders in by August 11th, because again, after this signing, I don't see. I've been proven wrong. I'm a naysayer. I've been proven wrong. I don't see Joe Hendry doing another signing.
I don't think he is. And I just want to make it clear on Joe Hendry, the final order of prints arrived on my doorstep today. I pulled off any photos off the website that we do not have in stock. And the stack I have, which is selling super quick.
It's dwindling, right?
It's the stack I have. That's it. When these photos run out, photo number 3, when that sells out, I will pull it from the website. The signing is August 11th. I'll probably leave the page up until August 10th, because why not? But once these things sell out, the options are going to dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. So if you are on the fence, if you believe in Joe Hendry more than Sean did, if you want this signed metallic before you see him on WrestleManias and SummerSlams, and you realize you'll have to pay 3 times the price, get that order in now. Don't keep hesitating.
And finally, again, we have Paul Heyman, the legendary Hall of Famer, ECW co-founder. All orders are due November 7th, which is a ways away, but it'll be here before you know it. It's already August. So with that, I think this is a very spirited conversation. I'm looking forward to the other perspective, honestly, on this.
Me too.
I especially knowing now what it takes to make money from the other side, and sometimes you get certain fan behaviors. You just want to, put your head through a wall when people are behaving a certain way in front of your table, because everything they do is costing you money. So I'm looking forward to from the other side of the table, and then we can kind of the goal is to kind of powwow with fans and dealers and vendors alike to kind of hash it out from both sides, and so everyone can see the perspective of the other side, and how things are run, kind of why things are run the way they're run at these shows. So for Marked Out Radio, Marked Out Collectibles, and markedout.com, I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And we will see you next week.